Hey guys, Willie Mac here, and today we're going to be working on this classic Xbox. I got this guy on eBay rather cheaply, untested, and looking to be already modded in some form or fashion. So let's dive in and see what we can find.
Back, you're basically going to have 6 Torx screws, 2 which are underneath the label, and then 4 in each of the 4 corners underneath the rubber feet. In my case, this was already kind of jacked up, so just took them off, and we'll flip this guy over. And take off the front cover. And now we have the hard drive, DVD drive, the cable with some apparent damage because somebody was in here before me. There's going to be 2 screws here and then one in the corner holding these plastic pieces on. But it looks like mine doesn't have that. So let's go ahead and take this guy out. So I can kind of see what's going on. And if you do it right, you should be able to lift this whole plastic piece right on out like that. And then you get access to the power supply and a little bit of the board. And if you get the other screw out already, you can kind of lift the optical drive out of here too. So this is definitely a 1.1 or a 1.0 since it has the GPU fan right there. We'll get in on that guy. And it doesn't look like any bulging caps. But we'll probably remove that clock cap since the dust looks kind of orange right there. Other than that, looks like everything else just kind of needs a little clean and a good dust out. But yeah, from the basic testing, the optical drive works, and there's no blown caps, minus that potentially bad clock capacitor. Everything else looks good. And we have the thing soft modded already. So while we're in here, we'll figure out which BIOS chip this is, if it's a WinBond or Sharp or whatnot, and make sure to get it all ready to go for TSOPing.
As you can see, the board is definitely in need of a serious clean. I mean, look at that. Gross. We'll go ahead and start by taking out all the screws connecting the board to the case. And then also unplug the power supply and all the remaining cables. Here we can see all the damage that that clock capacitor has done to the board. It's even discolored the dust. And you can definitely see how gross this fan assembly is right on top of the GPU. Gross. Heck, you can barely read the serial number of the sticker. So let's get to work. So we're going to start off by lightly brushing the entire board surface to get rid of any and most of the surface dust off this thing. Then I'll add some alcohol to the brush and just start going to town to clean up any and all of the rest of the stubborn dust that's on the board. Once we're done cleaning off the board, we need to remove that clock capacitor, as it is not necessary for keeping time anymore, since we can just use NTP as part of our new dashboard setup. Alright, so there's the guy that we need to remove right there. We're going to wiggle him around just a tad bit. What I like to do is just flip the board over, find the leads that capacitor is attached to, and basically heat them up with a little bit of solder. And on the other side, I'll probably just pull it right out as soon as that solder is hot enough for me to do so. This basically saves some time on just trying to desolder it and do it kind of like an old-fashioned way. But this method works for me, and it's fairly easy to do since the leads on this guy are pretty big. Just a little bit of holding it down and wiggling on the other side. And don't mind my poor hand movement there. And basically you'll just keep rocking this thing back and forth, switching between the leads. Then finally, this guy should just pop out just like that. Alright, we'll go ahead and start cleaning off the back and the front of the board with some alcohol to get rid of any extra dirt and dust and debris from that clock cap. We'll now go ahead and solder the two TSOP pads on the top of the board. Since I have a 1.0 revision motherboard, I need to solder the two pads at R7D3. On the back of the board, I'll be soldering the two pads at R7R3 for my 1.0 board. Finally, to finish putting this thing back together, we might as well swap out this power supply, as the connector is very damaged. As you can see, we'll be replacing it with a brand new model from either a 1.2 or a 1.3. Not too sure, but it was only 15 bucks on eBay, and the construction quality of this power supply is much better. With everything put back together, as you can see here, the power supply is back, the motherboard is back in the case. We'll go ahead and start cleaning off the rest of the case pieces themselves. Put everything back together with screws and whatnot. And then we can do a power on self-test and flash the TSOP. So here I have Hexen loaded up, and since we know that I don't have a sharp TSOP, I have either a ST or a WinBond. We select that, and in Hexen, since I have that booted up by CD, just choose the selection here, and it will slowly reboot into a new dashboard that has all the flashing tools on it. In my case, I'm going to scroll all the way down until I see the Evo X BIOS. And since I have I'm basically planning ahead and choosing the F and G partitions, so I'll flash that specific BIOS. It will go ahead and erase part of the TSOP, and then flash the new one on top. So with the actual TSOP done, what's the primary thing for actually doing this? And one of them is actually to swap out the hard drive for a larger size. In this case, I replaced the 10 gig drive with a Western Digital Blue 160 gig drive. So we'll go ahead and replace that, button up the machine, and as soon as we boot, we'll boot with the Hexen CD, and it'll detect the new hard drive, and it will ask you to format it. And once it's done, you basically just press down both triggers in the start button, and then we'll have to basically reinstall the applications and any and all custom dashboards that we had on the old drive. Once we're back in Hexen here, this is basically how to reinstall the applications here. Very simple. You just go down to install applications to E or F, your choice. Most of the dashboard configs that I've seen includes all three partitions for applications, the applications, games, dashboards, and XBMC. So depending on the size of the drive, you might want to put, basic apps on E, put your games onto either G or F, and then you should be good to go. After the Xbox reboots, you should be in your custom dashboard, ready to upload stuff by either FTP or whatnot. And you'll have a brand new hard drive and an Xbox that's been revitalized, ready to go to play all those classic games. Alright guys, that kind of wraps up the Xbox video here. We got it all nice and clean, it's been TSOP'd, and we have our dashboard installed, and we're ready to copy some games to this thing. Along with some apps, maybe some homebrew, we'll see. But that wraps it up for today. I'm Willie Mack. Make sure to like, subscribe, maybe write me a comment or two. Thanks.